Sir Tony. So what we can do now is I'll throw in a first sample of questions to our panelists. Guys, can you just make sure that the mic is working? Right, it's good. Okay. So I'll ask them to introduce themselves individually. You guys can go on for about 5 to 7 minutes each. And then we'll open the floor for lively discussion between you guys and the people and the viewers. Right? So ladies first.
I actually have a presentation. It's really mostly for visual aid, so you can really, so the presentation comes alive of who I am and who I am presenting to you.
We're here welcoming change makers, right? Kayo yan. Right? You're change makers? You're ready to change the game? Well, you can have some bit of enthusiasm for you know, you're going to change the game, right? So you want to be like, yeah, let's do this, right? When it's a game, it's supposed to be fun to begin with, right? You guys, maybe you need a bit more coffee, water. Okay, it's a bit early, but we all traveled from afar also, so let's really use this time to get to wake up. So, you want to change the game?
Yes.
Yes, okay, good. So, you know what they say, right? A common thing that's being said about change is, be the change you want to see, right? You're familiar with that. So before you can change anything, you actually have to change yourself. Do you agree? So how long have you been change makers? How long do you call yourself a change maker? Anyone? Anyone? 1 year, 2 years, 2 months?
5 minutes.
5 minutes? Maybe the gentleman there on a plaid shirt. 1 year. Okay, 1 year. So I'll ask you, when you decide to be a game changer, or change maker, what did you decide to change in you in that 1 year?
I want to change maybe my lifestyle because I want to have a healthy.
A healthier lifestyle. Okay, so did you make any changes in that 1 year?
Probably wala pa po.
Yan, yun ang problema natin, right? You can make small changes, right? So you can even just agree to give up pork. Medyo mahirap yun. Or maybe agree to eat more vegetables, right? So we cannot make big changes unless we make smaller changes in ourselves. That's easily manageable, that you can actually commit to. So anyway, I just did that to wake up the room. Okay, but let's just start thinking about that, right? Because when you want to be game changers, you want to change makers, the change starts with yourself. It doesn't have to be so grand, but small changes, incremental changes that when you look back, you've actually done something pretty significant over time. Okay? Because I can speak like that for myself, because who am I? Actually, more than change, I like to use the word evolve. Because change can be for the bad or the good, right? Change is always happening, change is constant. But you can choose to change for the better, right? So for me, in one word, that's evolve, is evolution. So my name is Marie Cabasora. I'm actually a balikbayan, right? So I dreamt and lived out the American dream. So I had a chance to get a full scholarship at one of the Potted Ivy schools. It's one of the 7 sisters called Mount Holyoke College. So I got a full scholarship. I got a chance to live in New York City and work in advertising, which is, my background is really advertising and marketing. So at that time, I worked in one of the biggest brands. This is Pepsi Cola and Mountain Dew. I'm sure you're familiar with that. So I climbed the corporate ladder and I lived that American dream, right? So that's the balikbayan. So now, here, it's a bit corny, but now I consider myself a balikbayani, right? So everything here that I'm sharing with you has been greatly influenced by the founder and father of Gawat Kilingan, Tito Tony Meloto. And he talks about everyday heroes, right? So I claim that not just as a title to be an everyday hero, but as a right and a privilege to serve my country every day. It's like the changes you need to exercise if you want to be this game changer, something that you want to do every day, right? So, but now I'm a Filipino dreamer. What is a Filipino dream? So I met Tita Tony a couple of years ago, and he was the first person to articulate what his Filipino dream is, right? It's really ending poverty for our country, right? So from a very individualistic American dream, I now have become a Filipino dreamer, which is really about lifting our country out of poverty, improving the lives of our fellow brothers and sisters, right? And really articulating this dream for everyone, not just for me. It's really invoking the Bayanihan spirit. I mean, it's such a unique thing to Filipinos that there's not even an English word that corresponds to Bayanihan. It's something we can really own for ourselves. So in my previous life, where I have changed to now, is I ate, I prayed, and loved. Okay, so, you know that book, right? Eat, Pray, Love. So we all go through that whole system. Eventually, at one point, when you hit my age, I think at one point you're going to ask yourself, what am I doing with my life? What is the meaning of my life? So for many years, a lot of my life meant eating, praying, and loving. Okay, so we talk about changes, right? I used to be married to an investment banker. I used to be in advertising, lived in New York City, like I said. I traveled to different parts of the world. I sought the meaning of life, sought God in many places, including Nepal, Tibet, Bhutan, right? I prayed, I even shaved my head, okay? And in between, I became a punk rock bass guitar player, I pierced my tongue, right? I lived in an ashram, and I also loved. So I loved an Italian man and learned how to cook and enjoyed really the finer things in life. But now, here, standing before you and decided to come back to the Philippines, there's a fourth chapter to that book, or the fourth title to that book. It's called Serve. So now I serve. Right? From all the changes that I've experienced in my life, that I've chosen to do, I'm now in a position to serve. But why am I here? Really, for me, this is the crux. I'm sorry you can't read it, but I'm just going to read a part of it. So, I'm really here because of the work of Gawad Kalina. I've decided to stay in the Philippines because of Tita Tony's vision for the Filipinos. Okay, so this thing is actually a manifesto. There's 5 parts, and it's posted in the grounds of GK Enchanted Farm in Angat, Bulacan. It was the first time I met Tita Tony in September 2015. Okay. And in that manifesto, it said, God did not make a mistake in creating the Filipino. Okay, so for someone who've lived abroad for over 25 years, it really struck me as something very significant. Because when I look down, it talks about people who will not really be consumers, but also producers. I dream of Filipino brands which will be globally recognizable. Filipino brands did not leave the poor behind. I will produce such a brand. That really spoke to me because why? You recognize these brands? Right? I handled those brands. I worked in those brands. I learned how to nurture them, learned to create and generate business, communicate properly. These are the brands that I handled. So I think God has something for me. With all the talents that I've been given, the experience that I've been given, the fortune that I've been given to have that kind of experience, now I'm actually here in the Philippines to build that brand. This is mine. Calabu. You can ask me that later. But just very quickly, the brand is about ending poverty through enthusiasm, empowerment, excellence. And it's really interesting when I was talking to Sir Tony this morning. As a social entrepreneur, it's really a very personal thing, right? So when you decide to become a game changer, a change maker, the change begins with you because this journey is very, very personal. So it is an opportunity for you to express the highest expression of who you are right now, who you choose to be, and whom you believe in. So in the manifest I said, God did not make a mistake in creating the Filipino. But in the Bible I also came across this verse. It said, God created us for good works. He already prepared for us in advance. If you believe that, then you're all set to do really something very, very amazing. You just gotta claim it, right? And I claim that. So I'm going to stop here because you're going to ask me questions later. All right, I'm going to share this with you later na lang. So I just wanted to do an introduction of who I am, who I am, and what I want to share with you. So this is really just about the Carabao dairy industry. I'm focused on building the dairy industry here in the Philippines, based on business, because it is a business, but also a very deep understanding of what it means to be a dairy farmer, what it means to build a dairy industry with the Carabaos, which is our national animal, right? Our national animal. And what I'd like to see, I'll share with you that later. And who we are impacting socially. There's actually 3 groups of people. Again, you can ask me that later. So this is just to give you a preview of the questions you can ask me within this contest, but also outside. And essential questions for your enterprise. And these are my products at the moment. We've got butter and yogurts and fresh cheeses, really using fresh Carabao milk as the base. This is our media launch, our official launch last November 11. You can ask me that too, how I managed to do it without any capital, without spending a lot of money in terms of real investments in terms of cash. I can share that journey with you also, because as a social entrepreneur, you don't actually have to have your own money. You just have to have this big dream and a willingness to invest yourself in it. And media coverage, and the video that I will share with you later, so I don't eat up all of my 7 minutes, okay? Thank you guys for waking up and listening to my story. And I'd like to now share the place with Tom Payne.
Okay, good morning everyone. Kumusta? Kumain ka na ba? Hindi pa. Okay, so I am not a Balikbayan like Marie. Any ideas, any guesses what country I'm from?
Australia.
No? There are big rivals. England! Exactly, correct. I'm from the UK. Originally I'm from London. About 5 years ago, I arrived in the Philippines. I expected to stay a couple of months, and well, that was 5 years ago. So something happened along the way, right? Something happened which caused me, or led me to really changing direction in my life and choosing the Philippines to be my home. What was that? So I'm just curious, first of all, what some of you are students and some of you are professors or deans, is that right? Which universities do we have present here?
Milagrosa University.
Okay, where's that?
Somewhere in the north.
Somewhere in the north.
Yes. In Pangasinan.
Pangasinan. Okay, great. Do we have any other universities?
Far Eastern University.
FEU. Whereabouts? Which one? Which campus?
FEU Manila.
FEU Manila. Okay, awesome. And you guys are also from Pangasinan?
Yes. Same school.
Okay, brilliant. So some of you are students, right? And I want to take you back to when I was a student, which was
5 years.
there you go, just 5 years ago. And there were 3 things I wanted out of life when I was a student, right? I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to earn maraming pera, okay? And I wanted to be a writer. I liked this idea of being a writer and the status or the feeling it would give me of writing in magazines and stuff like that. And I was actually quite lucky because I was able to achieve that. I wrote reports for different international magazines like Newsweek. I wrote for the in-flight magazines of different airlines. And I was posted to different countries all over the world to write business or investment reports. So I spent time in South Africa, in Botswana, in parts of South America. And I was posted here in the Philippines about 5 years ago to write a report on this country. And the reason I was writing a report on the Philippines is because it was one of the fastest growing economies in Asia, right? Even in the world at the time. I think sometimes people living here don't realize just how many growth opportunities there are in the Philippines. You know, the Philippines growing 3 or 4 times faster than back home in the UK. Okay, so I had those 3 things in mind, right? I achieved the dream, or at least the dream I had for myself when I was back in university. And yet I arrived in the Philippines deeply unfulfilled. Because I didn't believe in the content of the reports I was writing. So my reports were all about this idea of trickle-down economics, right? This idea that the rich get richer, and eventually those benefits go down to the people at the bottom. And yet I saw wherever I went, it didn't matter if I was in South America, if I was in Botswana, if I was in South Africa, or in the Philippines, I saw that wasn't happening. I arrived in the Philippines, I looked at the statistics, and I saw 48 consecutive quarters of growth. So the economy going like this, and yet 20 million people living on less than $2 a day, and that number was not really changing. But it was more than that. It was what I saw. Poverty to me was a lot more visible. It was a lot more in my face than it even had been when I lived in South Africa and even in parts of Africa. So I was kind of troubled. That was the background. And then one day I was writing a report, and one of the men, he was a businessman here in the Philippines for quite a prestigious group. He called me a parachute journalist. What's a parachute journalist? I didn't understand the term at the first. He said, yeah, you're one of these foreigners. You come to our country, you drop in, you write a quick report, and then you leave. But you don't really understand the Philippines. How dare you? I studied at a top university in Europe. I have a master's degree, and I write for these prestigious international magazines. How dare you say I don't understand your country? So the next day I thought, I am going to show you Filipinos that I understand this country. So what did I do? I was living in Makati at the time. I took a taxi just here to Green Hills, and I went inside the mall, and I bought the finest Barong Tagalog money could buy. And I showed up to my interview the next day. I was in this this beautiful barong, and I expected the politician I was interviewing, I expected him to compliment me on my attire. Wow, you're looking great, you look so Filipino. Instead, after about 5 minutes, I noticed he had a bit of a concerned look on his face. And he looked back at me, and he said, but sir, you do realise if you wear a Barong Tagalog, you really should wear a t-shirt underneath. So you can imagine it, air conditioning on maximum like now. There I am freezing in this beautiful but slightly transparent Barong Tagalog. Don't imagine it too much, alright guys? I don't want to put you off your food later. So that was the reality, right? I really didn't understand this country to the extent I didn't even know how to wear a Barong Tagalog. And yet I was here with authority, writing about this country and telling people all around the world about this country. And everywhere I went, people would call me Joe the Americano. One day I was in a taxi, I had a private driver, and I was in the car. These kids were calling me Joe the Americano, tapping on the window, and I asked the driver, I said, can I wind it down and tell these kids I'm neither Joe nor Americano, I'm Tom from England? The way he answered me was very revealing. He said, oh sir, I don't recommend you do that. If you wind down your window, it's dangerous out there. These kids will probably rob you. So I did it. And I went back to my 34th floor condominium in Salcedo Village, thinking, okay, I'm safe, but wondering why would anyone read my reports on the Philippines if I'm that disconnected from the ground? So that was where my life changed, because I wanted to seek a more authentic, real story about this country, and that's when people said, you must meet Tony Maloto, the founder of Gallup Kalinga. So a 30-minute interview became a 3-hour discussion on purpose, on social enterprise, and there was this one phrase that really stayed in my memory, which was, he told me, you need to go out and discover the genius of the Filipino poor. I didn't make any sense. I thought, if there's genius in the poor, then why are they poor? And yet there was something about the way Tony was speaking to me, the vision he had for this country, which really inspired me. So I ended up ditching the shirt and the tie. By the way, I never wore a barong after that moment. I burnt all my barongs. I didn't really burn them. But I wore a suit after that. But when Tony Maloto interviewed me in a suit, he said, you're not going to get your answers to all of these questions. He saw I was a person who had so many troubles on my mind about the state of the world. He said, you're not going to get your answers wearing a suit and a tie. He said, ditch the shirt and the tie, go out and discover the genius of the Filipino poor. By the way, you look great in your shirt and tie today. I sometimes still wear one. There's nothing wrong with a shirt and tie, of course, in itself. But it was really this idea of going to the ground, right? And really seeking solutions and finding hope on the ground. And that's what I did. So I spent 1 year living in the communities of Gallup Kalinga. I wrote a book. I'll show you guys. I've got a couple of copies here later on, called The Genius of the Poor. And now I have a social tourism enterprise called MAD Travel. MAD stands for M-A-D, make a difference. Because I believe that there's something so special happening in this country that I want as many people as possible to discover it. I want people from around the world to come to this country and discover hope in the Philippines. To discover the spirit of Bayanihan in the Philippines. We don't have Bayanihan in the UK. It's something truly unique and beautiful about your culture, and more people around the world need to discover it. So that's why I set up MAD Travel, or Make a Difference Travel. And there's one place in particular, which is our #1 destination, which is the Enchanted Farm. It's a place that inspired Marie to set up Calabu. It's a place that's inspired us to set up MAD Travel, and there's over 40 or 50 social enterprises which have started in this place, the Enchanted Farm. Has anyone visited before? No? Okay, I really hope you have. Wonderful. Did you like it? Did you find it inspiring?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so it's a hub or an incubator for social enterprises. Saying, why do we import all of our coffee, cheese, chocolate, iced tea? Why are we importing so much in this country when we can make world-class products and world-class brands ourselves? Starting here. Okay, so that's our #1 destination. And I'm very, very happy today to be able to introduce you to just one of the many people that inspire me at the GK Enchanted Farm. Anna, thank you. Anna Salamat is a partner of ours in MAD Travel, and she's also she's finishing her internship with MAD Travel. And I hope that she'll continue to work or collaborate with us with MAD Travel. But she is one of the first students of a program at the Enchanted Farm called SEED, which is a school for experiential and entrepreneurial development. So this is really looking at how can we unleash the genius in rural communities, the genius of the people here, to build businesses which leave no one behind. And Anna is somebody who's really inspired me to continue to do our work and to bring more people to the Enchanted Farm. So I think it's now time. I think I've used up my 7 minutes. So I'd like to now pass the mic over to Anna, and Anna's going to introduce herself, and also tell you a little bit about this program, Seed, and what she has learned. Because I've learned so much at the Enchanted Farm, and so has Marie, and I think we'll tell you more about that later. What have you learned at the Enchanted Farm? Okay, over to you, Anna.
Thank you, Kuya Tom. Hello, good morning to all of you. My name is Ana Victoria Salamat. Yeah, thank you. I'm 19 years old. My life from Ate Marie and Kuya Tom was so different. I grew up in a day-to-day survival mode. And way back when I was in high school, public high school, step by step I lost hope. Step by step I was so envied to my classmates because they can go to the school or university that they wanted. But as for me, we have no really choice, and some of my classmates have no really choice but to stop studying because my father is construction worker and my mother is laundry woman. We don't have any choice but to stop studying or else go to the market to apply as a sales lady or even worse, become pregnant at an early age. But then one day, Tito Tony came into my life. I'm so happy because he became our commencement speaker during our graduation. And then he offered us scholarship, which is the SEED Philippines. As Kuya Tom mentioned, SEED stands for School for Experiential and Entrepreneurial Development, wherein this is a university to raise and focus to raise a next generation of social entrepreneurs. Focus to raise a next generation of game changers, a change makers of this country. And at first, I didn't really believe with Tito Tony. Like, what the hell are he saying about? But then, when he came in Gawad Kalinga Enchanted Farm, I think it was so different. A lot of people we met. Of course, when we first, the first time that we stepped there, it's really a full of hesitation. But then, one sentence that really struck in my mind when Tito Tony said to us that if outside rejected you, but then here at the Gawad Kalinga Enchanted Farm, we will treat you as a family. But then, we will treat you as a precious stone, but then it is covered with mud. So with that mud, with that dirt, we have to really remove that. So that dirt is really to remove our insecurity, our timidity, and our mediocrity. And 2 years program of SEED is really a life-changing in me. And one decision that I take is to really, I don't want to be treated as a poor. So it's really a simple choice, but it's a life-changing decision. So we graduated last June 12, and for us it's really Independence Day. And for us it's marked that we are free out of our poverty. Our poverty, because when we say poverty, it's not poverty of the financial, but then it's poverty of the heart, and it's poverty of the mind. That Filipinos can be a world class. Filipinos can make a world class experience, a world class product like Calabu and then Mad Travel. And we're here to become a next generation of young social entrepreneur. I'm currently working with Man Travel and at the same time in GK Enchanted Farm for marketing, partnership marketing and events. And yeah, that's it. Yeah, so thank you.
Alright. Hey, thanks guys. No? So yeah. I think, how do you guys find their stories? No? Quite, we were discussing with Glenn at the back. I was telling them tago sa puso. No? So it's home, and it's the heart. No? So I wanted to check first, maybe you guys have some questions you want to ask? Sir, yes. Can you please ask? Sir. And then, yeah, you guys have a mic.
Good morning. I'd like to ask this question to Sir Tom. Yeah, I was a little bit intrigued with the statement, parachute writer. So, with that, you said that that is one of the driving force that made you stay in the Philippines in order for you to have an in-depth knowledge about the Filipinos. Now, may I know, with your 5 years of staying here, if you were asked to write about the Filipinos then, what would it be? I mean, even just in 3 or 4 sentences, no? Because, yeah, they said you don't really know Filipino. No? You only know the tip of the iceberg, which forces you to stay and know them better. Now, if you were asked to write about the Filipinos now, what would it be? Thank you.
Okay.
Hello, yes. What a great question. Really, really great question. When I first arrived here, so the first 2 months, I had friends from elite families here in the Philippines. I used to go to the bars and the nice restaurants in Makati and BGC, and I saw, my friends were getting picked up in Lamborghinis sometimes, and they're really the top of the top. If I was to write a headline for one of my articles back then, a truthful article, because some of my writing was kind of public relations related, right? But if I was to write a really truthful article on the Philippines, I would probably say something like, the world sucks, but you might as well make the most of it. We might as well enjoy it while we can. Or the Philippines is a country full of so many challenges, and yet at least it's good for me. Something like that. Because my life here was very comfortable. I heard one of the books I read just soon after I arrived was Dan Brown. When he referred to Manila as the gates of hell. In one of his books, it created a bit of a storm here. And my opinion was like, whoa, wait, this is not the gates of hell. I'm living a jet-setting lifestyle. I've got a great big swimming pool in my condominium. I'm sipping cocktails at night. So I could see the gates of hell. I could see the hell around me, but I was kind of glad that I wasn't part of it. So that would have been my impression. That's what I would have written about. I would have written about the suffering in this country, but then I would have been relieved that I wasn't part of it. Because all of my friends were living a European lifestyle, let's be honest. Or it was as if I was living in Singapore, for me. But I saw a lot of suffering around me. If you ask me what would I write about the Filipino, honestly, it was very difficult back 5 years ago to write about the Filipino because I didn't really know the Filipino. All I did was I certainly didn't see the human potential that I see today. Just like when Tony Maloto said, discover the genius of the Filipino poor, those words didn't make any sense to me. Because all I saw was, people who were living in poverty, were not very well educated, were throwing their trash on the side of the street, stuff like that. So 5 years ago, I think I would have written a very ignorant, if I were to really write about the Filipino, it would have been quite an ignorant story. Today, what would I write about the Filipino? I guess I'd really focus on the values which have had a big influence on me in this country. Bayanihan, walang iwanan. All the values like how do you say, kapatiran, even Descartes, right? I'd write about, but particularly I'd look at these values. I think the two values that resonate with me most are Bayanihan and walang iwanan. Because these are two values which I'm sure we had in the UK. Probably if you go back centuries, we probably had a spirit of walang iwanan, we had a spirit of Bayanihan. but we've become such an individualist society. Everything you can do on your own in the UK. You don't need people around you so much. And yet, of course, you do need people around you, to be happy. But I think today I would write about those values, and I'd write about the potential for these values to sort of really resurface, not just in our personal lives and in our how we treat our families, but what I've been so inspired by being here in the Philippines is the rise of social entrepreneurship, and how these values of Bayanihan and Walang really can be integrated into the way we do business. So they can start to affect the way we do business, and this can become an inspiration not just for you Filipinos, but for many of us around the world. And that's why so many of our guests are foreigners, and they really get inspired about how to do business differently in the Philippines. Would you believe it? They understand these words, world-class Philippines or world-class Filipino. That's not just being world-class. We had a group recently from Procter & Gamble, and they said, we've discovered what the words world-class Filipino mean at the Enchanted Farm. And I found that really interesting because, of course, they knew what world-class was before they arrived in the Enchanted Farm, because they worked for Procter & Gamble. They had the highest standards. And yet, what about those words world-class Filipino? That's world-class. That's competence, but merged with values, with solidarity, with bayanihan, with leaving no one behind. And so that's what I would write about today. The potential for us foreigners to come to this country and not just to give lessons, but to learn. Learn from these values and see how can these values revolutionize the way that we build businesses in the future.
May I have one more question?
Sure.
Say, for example, you're not just an ordinary tourist now because you've been here for 5 years. Say, for example, you went back to UK and one of your friends asked you, Tom, is it really true that there's more fun in the Philippines? What will you tell them?
It's more fun and fulfilling in the Philippines. It is more fun, right? There's always so much happening. I mean, only Filipinos can make the most potentially disastrous or boring of situations somehow fun. There's so much colour, there's so much life in this country. I spent Christmas a couple of years ago in a Gaud Kalinga village in Bantayan Island. This was just after Typhoon Haiyan. And I had the most fun Christmas of my life, despite the fact that this community had been completely wiped out by Typhoon Haiyan. There was no power. There was nothing in this community at all. All they had was a Nokia phone, a flashlight, and a gazebo hut, and a bottle of Tanduay, which helps. And I had the most fun Christmas of my life, right? So yes, Filipinos are fun. I love how Filipinos don't take themselves so seriously. You'll be in an elevator and some guy will just start singing his favourite, like, I don't know, Whitney Houston track or something. All very, 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 very strange for us, coming from abroad, but really wonderful, I think. So yes, it is more fun. Or it's more fun. I mean, it is really, really fun in this country to be here. And I think it's the fun which enables me to put up with the pollution or the traffic of Manila, or the there's a wonderful spirit to Manila, despite the challenges. I wouldn't focus on the fun, because I think that there's a lot more to be done here than just to experience the fun. I think there's a chance to really make a difference, or to learn how to make a difference, and through, for example, social enterprise or social tourism, and either build something here or take those values that you learn here and see how can that apply to my life back home in the UK or wherever I come from. There's so much to learn from the Filipino. I think that's the thing I want to say. And it's not just fun, but of course along the way let's have fun, which is not difficult in this country. I just wanted to add, because I think that there were some really good questions there. Might I encourage you guys, as you're listening, to write down questions, so that when we have a moment, because this is going to be a long time if we're just talking the whole time, right? Or if we're just, so I think the questions are really, really important. So, so that nobody has an excuse to say, oh, I can't think of a question on the spot. As you're listening to us, as you're listening to anything that Anna says, Marie says, or I say, write down a question. At least one. Let's have at least one question from everyone today. It could be anything, trivial or a deeper, more serious question. Just write it down on your paper in front of you, so that then when Raf opens it up to questions, you guys are ready. So anyway, thanks for, again, that was a deep question and then a more sort of fun question at the end, right? So either works. All right, Raf?
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you, Doctor, for asking a question. Guys, other questions you might have? All right. Well, actually, I have a follow-up question, because Tom discussed it earlier, what made him want to be a social entrepreneur, that experience. I was wondering, for Marie and Anna, like maybe you could share with the people what was the event or the series of events that led you to deciding, okay, I'm going to make this transformation real and move into the space of thinking not just about gaining value for myself, but value for others as well.
So I guess that's the question about how did I decide to become a social entrepreneur. Right? So for me, having had this corporate background, right, so I was always used to being an employee, right? So when I came here, even when I visited the farm, I was like, it's not for me because I'm not a negosyante, I don't know, I can't imagine taking that big responsibility. But over time, I actually volunteered first at Chicken Channel Farm, and then I joined their marketing team. Again, my comfort zone was joining a bigger organization, right? Joining a big organization, so even if it's not corporate, I feel like I'm protected because I get an allowance, right? So there's already an existing structure. But because I live there, I live and breathe the values of Gawad Kalinga. I have the opportunity, really the privilege of spending a lot of time with Tito Tony. Made me think about a lot of things. And one of, there was an existing social enterprise there that was abandoned. Most businesses fail, about over 90, maybe even 99% of businesses fail, and more so pa for social enterprises, because it's really tough. It's a really tough undertaking. But I said, I think I can do it. First, I think I can do it. And I had to go through a series of questions, because I see this opportunity, I see the value, but I also see the real hope that social entrepreneurship can end poverty in our country. It's not charity, it's not volunteerism per se, it's not just giving out things, but to really provide a platform for sustainability. That's business, right? So, kasi Tito Tony, when you talk about social entrepreneurship, he takes away the stigma against the desire to make a lot of money. Because we as social enterprises have to make a lot of money so we can help a lot of people. It's not wealth for myself, but really wealth for everyone else, right? So I had to ask myself a few questions before I could do this. But I know, because I've been given so much, right? What am I gonna do with it? Like, I've been given a lot of opportunities, like I said, so I don't want to live this wasted life. So like Tom's lifestyle, I had a very similar lifestyle, right? You go away in the weekends, you go diving, you go short shopping trips to Hong Kong, and you eat the best food. And I was thinking, I don't want to get used to this life. I don't want to take for granted na masarap yung ulam ko, na naka-aircon lagi ako. I don't want that, because that's not how many people live. And if I lose an appreciation for this, right, where do I get that satisfaction? Right, where do I get that kind of fulfillment if these things don't fulfill me? Because I know I'm really made for something more. Like my life is worth something, which means to be shared with others. So when I entertained the idea of becoming a social entrepreneur, I actually asked myself 6 questions. The first one was, what am I passionate about? Diba? Of course, it's travel, it's eating out, it's music, right? All the fun things. Right? But the second question is, what am I willing to struggle for? Because you're going to make something out of it as like a business. You're going to struggle for it, right? Because you're going to do it day in, day out. I mean, even if you love music, can you imagine playing music, learning music day in, day out? Because that's going to be a struggle, right? Third one is, can I commit to it? Can I commit to the thing that I'm willing to struggle for, knowing that I will make a lot of mistakes? A lot of mistakes, a lot of failures. Kaya ko ba? Because this is what it means, right? And fourth is, where am I going to draw that lakas? Where am I going to draw that strength from? Paano ako magiging matatag? Because mauubos yung energy ko if it's just me, right? Because as a social entrepreneur, you're not just an entrepreneur, you make money for yourself, right? Social entrepreneurs, you're going to address social issues. It means you're going to help a lot of people. Right? You're going to be at the forefront of everything, and there's going to be a lot of people relying on you. Right? Can you take that responsibility? Right? And the fifth question was, how do I want to live my everyday? Because you're going to be the boss. You might as well dictate or define or create the culture of the company that you want. How do I want to live that? Because a president of a South American country once said, the things that we buy now, the cars, the lifestyle, and the clothes, the latest gadgets, we don't pay for it with money. We pay for it with time. And, most of us will probably live up to 70, 80, but our most productive years would be like, ideally, maybe 50, 60 years, right? How do you want to spend most of that? In an office, doing a job that you don't want to do, and you make power with buying all these things that really just, by the time you know it, it's laos na, or it breaks. Is that how you want to live? Is that how you get to dictate that? Because you're going to have an amazing freedom, right? But the most important question is this. And once you find the answer, is the answer to all answers, right? Is my faith big enough, deep enough, wide enough, right, to complete this journey to its natural conclusion? Is my faith big enough? Not just one time, okay God, social entrepreneur na ako din, tapos, right? No, it's every day. Because every day you're going to be making decisions. It's not even just every day, it's every moment. Because you're always going to be making decisions, right? And because you're a social entrepreneur, you're always going to be in an innovative space, looking for new solutions. Solutions that may have already been tried and true, but there's going to be always new solutions, new problems, because clearly things now are not working. Diba? We're still poor. A lot of people, we can't keep on doing the same things we've been doing. That created this situation. So every moment when you make a decision with no basis for anything except faith. Kaya ko ba? Where am I going to get that answer from? But once you're able to answer that, like, yes, my faith is big enough, then everything else falls by the wayside. So when people ask you, oh, sigurado ka ba? That's a crazy idea. But you have that conviction. You have that conviction. No. Maybe this idea won't work, but my dream for this enterprise is going to work. Don't know how, but yeah. Because I go back to that quote from the Bible, diba? At the end of the day, it's that. Ito yung kinakapitan ko. This is where I go back. Right? God created us for good works He already prepared us for. So it's like a really nice thing to go back. So hopefully I answered your question.
Right, thank you. Anna? So for those who just joined us recently, Marie is working in dairy startup, and then Anna just graduated from the School of Experiential and Entrepreneurial Development, or SEED, and is also on her own social enterprise journey.
Why I decided to become a young social entrepreneur, because what I've said earlier, I don't want to be treated as a poor anymore. And I said that we have freedom to be rich. And when we came into SEED Philippines, a lot of people like Kuya Raf, Ate Marie, and Kuya Tom really invest in our time, in our effort, and really invest in our skills. And then the program is really focused to become a social entrepreneur. Our class is really excellent. The SEED really gave us the gift of quality class excellence. And I think the program really gave us a new brand of leadership to become change maker, the game changer. A lot of people really think that yes, the poor really have a small pockets, but then it doesn't mean that even the poor have small pockets, then it doesn't mean that you have small brains and you have small means. But no, we are here because we have big dreams. And I want to really live out my family on poverty. That's why I'm really here. And I'm not here to survive anymore, but I'm here to try for excellence. I'm here every day because we're taking a lot of courage. Because a lot of people really believe in us. And at the farm, we have no reason to be greedy because a lot of people are still out of need, but then a lot of people are still out of greed. We don't have any reasons to be selfish because a lot of people sacrifice. They go down on their ivory tower. They go down on their comfort zone. But and we don't have any reason to give up because a lot of people really believe in us and they really didn't give up on us. That's why I'm pushing to become a social entrepreneur. And to become social entrepreneur or to build a social entrepreneur, you have to build people first, not on anything else. Because I think it's really more important the values and the character. Because when we build social entrepreneurship, or if you want to become social entrepreneurs, we have to work with the poor people. Because we expanded the meaning of the family, which is to really belong the poor people. Because they have really a lot of talents. We just really need to discover their untapped wealth. And we're here to really create a shared prosperity to everyone. And we're here because we have collective dreams and we have collective problems as well. That's why our goal is to really raise a 500 social entrepreneurship, 500,000 social entrepreneur by 2024. That's why the SEED are now currently getting next 75 students for this coming August, and we will make it happen, and 2024 is beyond that. So we're not limited to do.
I'm sorry, I was not there earlier. What is your business? What's your social enterprise?
I'm currently working with Matt Travel, and
So you don't have your own social enterprise?
She also started, tell them about what you just started.
The one you said that you have your own, I'm curious.
okay, we just started last week our business, which is the shirt printing with the characters and values codes of Tito Tony and something that will inspire people.
Okay, and how many are you in that business?
Currently we are 2. The other one is also working with partnership marketing and events.
So the two of you are part-timers. How do you hope to be successful if you're not full-time?
Sorry?
You're both part-timers. You're working with Matt Travel, the other one's working. Why do you think you will succeed if you're not doing it seriously and full-time?
I think it's doable po. Like what Tito Tony has been said for us, that we will make our enterprise like 8 hours and then 4 hours in our own enterprise and then another 2 hours for sideline so that we can achieve 25,000 pesos per month po. So that's our goal.
This is vague to me, okay? So you have a business, you will work a few hours on it. How will you reach 25,000? This is after tax or before tax?
It's
The target is after tax, sir.
After tax, 25,000. Can you break it down for me? How will you arrive at 25,000?
Sir,
She's the one doing it, right? Let her run.
Currently, I'm doing my internship with Mad Travel, and then we will end it up at
No,
June.
excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt. Because these are students who want to learn, right? So I want you to share what you're doing. If what we tell students or those who want to be social entrepreneurs, that the way to do it is part-time, there's a problem. Social enterprise requires full-time commitment to something you're passionate about, something you believe in. Now, of course, you have to live, I understand that. That's why you're working. So, is that you're gonna sleep 2 hours a day and work 22 hours? I understand that. If you work 4 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours, and sleep 12 hours, I don't understand that. So please educate me.
I would personally,
Yeah.
I feel that if we're to inspire a large number of people to consider social enterprise, then we cannot say to everyone, quit your job, all of you, and start immediately as full-time social entrepreneurs. I feel that we have to offer different avenues into social enterprise. And many, for example, Marie has a good example here where Marie herself may be full-time, but there's many different ways in which she can engage with people on a part-time basis. So a lot of people, I feel that there is a path into social enterprise which begins part-time, and which obviously eventually it has to become full-time. But I feel that if you're to ask everybody to go 100% into social enterprise immediately, it's possible for some people, but it's not for everyone. There are examples of sustainable social enterprises that are part-time at the moment.
Tom, I understand that. And I'm not questioning doing part-time. I'm just trying to understand what she's doing so they can learn from it. This is one very specific example. I'm just discussing the one specific example. I am sure there are as many paths as there are people. But in this particular case, since you're sitting there as an example of a social entrepreneur, you have to help us understand what is your journey. How did you do the evaluation? Did you do a feasibility study? What calculations did you make? It's not enough to say, I am interning with Mad Travel or I'm talking to Tony. I mean, Tony talked to me before he started GK. So I have a fair idea of what Tony wanted to do and what he did. He brought his whole team at one time to consult with me before they started the first GK meeting. So I have a fair idea of the background. I think the challenge to all of us, young and old, is to personalize the discussion so that there is true learning. And I'm not judging. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just trying to understand. Since I know the polite people, they will not ask that question. And that's not the purpose of this conversation. Our conversation is to learn from whoever sits in front. Right? So I'm happy you're here. I'm very happy you went to training. But make us understand. For example, why do you think what you're doing is a social enterprise and not just another t-shirt business? What makes it a social enterprise? No, I mean, I want to hear from you.
Actually, I just want to contextualize Anna's experience kasi.
Okay.
So I can answer that question, but maybe not her at this point. Okay, so first of all, the C students, she just learned how to speak English.
No.
Yeah, but
Mag-usap
I
tayo sa Tagalog. Tagalog is fine.
Pwede
Walang
Tagalog,
problema.
yeah. But,
Mag-Tagalog
so,
tayo.
i-contextualize ko po yung siya. So, 2 years, the focus for these kids, the seed students, very deliberate. Tito was like, let's build your character. Let's build your character. So no technology, not really, no even like high-tech tools, because he wants them to show up at work, working in the field at 5 o'clock in the morning, paghirapan. So the skills are soft, right? But they get to learn basic accounting, English, and together we journey with them in developing the business plan. But not so much their enterprise per se, but to really get them to that entrepreneurial mindset. Okay, so Anna is the pioneer batch. And at that time, we didn't know what we're doing. So we made it up as we went along, right? That was the first one, and she is now finishing her gap year, which is her on-the-job training under Mad Travel. So those questions, sir, she might not, but we'll ask her.
Yeah,
But just in terms of the training for seed, ganon siya po.
Yeah, let me clarify. No? I mean, I'm not questioning the training. I mean, Sid talked to us before they started. So I have a fair idea as to what they wanted to do. So this is not a discussion on training. Okay, this is a discussion on journeys towards social entrepreneurship for various people, through various ways, in different contexts. Kung gusto mo, mag-usap tayo ng Kapampangan, Bisaya, Pangasinan, whatever. Yung ating lengguwahe, hindi importante. Ang importante yung ating pagiging bukas na malaman na hindi pala tayo perfect, na kahit na anong kinuha mong kurso, meron ka pala pero pag hindi mo tinanong sa sarili mo, na ito ginagawa ko dahil alam ko kung anong ginagawa ko, paano mo malalaman kung ano ang resulta? And ang unang tanong dun is, bakit sa social enterprise? Ang daming t-shirt business, di ba? Dinalagay mo yung values sa t-shirt, does not make it a social enterprise. That's a slogan here, good or bad. So, bakit sa social enterprise yung negosyo mo?
I think, sir, kasi the seed is really focused kung saan.
No, forget seed. Talk about yourself. Your
We
t-shirt
focus on
business.
our, what is our skills po.
No. Focus on your t-shirt business.
Yeah,
What
that's,
makes your t-shirt business? Bakit mo sinasabi na t-shirt business mo, social enterprise? Kasi negosyo siya wala akong problema doon. Pero ang diskusyon natin ngayong umaga ay tungkol sa mga may social objective. Hindi yung may slogan ka or kami we're poor, we're learning. That doesn't make it a social enterprise. Inuudyo ko lang ang ano mo. Huwag
okay
mong
lang
galit.
po. Okay lang po.
Kasi pag matanda ka na, kahit ano pwede mong tanong.
Okay lang po. Siguro, I think yung sa skills mo namin yung
Not skills,
talents.
don't talk about skills. Talk about your business. Bakit mo sinasabi, ano pa ang negosyo mo iha?
We are currently developing pa rin po pati yung
Okay,
branding.
itong question mark pangalan, na negosyo sabi mo nag-umpisa na, paano mo magagawa kung wala kang pangalan? Kala pa nag-umpisa na.
Last week po. So,
Okay lang,
parang
so last week nung nag-umpisa, wala kang pangalan.
wala pa po po.
Paano
We
bet-
did
paano
prototype
bebenta?
pa lang po.
Ano, sorry?
We did prototype. It's only
Isang po dito.
prototype. Wala po.
Kasi ganda sana tignan, di ba?
Sir, just to contextualize, because I work with them also, no? The seed students kasi are placed inside the Enchanted Farm, which is supposed to be a business incubator for social business. So there are a lot of tourists that come, learn about different things, or eat, and the products that you guys make are shirts and caps, correct? No? And it was on display, no? And the whole point of being in this space, of the Enchanted Farm, so that you can actually try, do a trial and error on your different
But
products.
Rob, I understand what an incubator is. I know what Enchanted Farm is. I understand the training that SEED is trying to do. So, my question has nothing to do with this. When anybody wants to talk about anything, whether formally or informally, hopefully, at the very least, we know why we're doing what we're doing, even if it's a work in progress, it's evolving, and so on. I'll give you one basic question. One of my advocacies, maybe is yours as well or should be, is that no one is exempted from following the law. So, you start a business, are you registered? If you're not, why are you selling products? That's illegal. And that's what I've been telling GK and Tony. You cannot have people selling that are not registered. Because that breeds criminality later. Of course, none of us are criminals. None of us want to do anything wrong. We all mean well. But where do we learn? From the start. And presumably at sea, you're told that part of going into business is to take the name, register it, get your barangay clearance, your mayor's permit. Make sure that even if there are only two of you part-time, there is SSS, there is PhilHealth, etc. No one is exempted from basic statutory requirements. And why am I talking about that? Because many people, students and those in schools, think they just set up a business, it's okay. And we who are in education are failing because we're allowing students to think that is correct. The path to hell is paved with very good you know what. Therefore, good intentions do not explain anything. That is the context naman of my question. Diba? I'm not forcing you, I'm not trying to embarrass you. This is among friends, remember? And like I said, think of it as the rantings of an old man, what I'm asking. Don't worry about it. But it's a good question. I'm worried. And we see join our group. This time, I will be the one. I've been sending Norin to talk to them, etc. But I always tell people, there are 3 basic requirements only to anything. Follow the law. You don't like the law, too bad. You still have to follow the law. It's an unfair law. It's against you. It's all the bad things you can say. Follow the law. Otherwise, there's no civilization that's going to happen. Right? We work with our legislators and bad politicians to correct all the wrong laws. But we follow the law. Second, we have people clarify their intentions because intentions alone is not enough. Right? And third, I'm happy you're here. Please share so that we learn along with you as you go along. And so, nagtatanong ako, kapapangan ako sa limited Tagalog. Pero nagtatanong ako kasi, yun ang gusto kong mangyari, na mag-usap-usap yung mga nasa space na ito, yung mga social entrepreneur. Para ang next generation, palaging better than the old generation. Para yung mga kapalpakan namin, hindi nyo gagawin. Para yung kapalpakan ko, siguro walang palpaking dalawa na ninyo kasi sila yung ating dapat wala. Pero pagdating sa'yo, you have the benefit of talking to Tony Menoto and many other people. Sana, walang slogan here. We don't have to talk about cities doing this. We want 500,000. Okay. One aspiring social entrepreneur is in front of this. Your message cannot be about seed 500,000 social entrepreneurs. Your message cannot be this is the training we get. Every gap year we do this. Share with us what's going on in your head. Hindi lang, I don't want to be poor. I want to be this is mine. Not enough. You're not here to listen to me, I'm here to listen to you. So.
Yes.
Ano masasabi mo?
I have a lot of things to say.
Kasi do not allow these old people around you to answer for you. If I'm the one I feel insulted, why? Your opinion is as good as theirs. And if it's wrong, it's wrong. But it's as good as theirs. Don't answer for me. When I was young, that's what I always said. Why are you answering for me? If I'm wrong, I will learn. When you answer for me, I begin to mouth what they say. And the one thing we don't want is to be parrots to anyone. Because every individual is important. Every individual must be respected. Your opinion is as good as those 3 people around you, who may be your mentors. That's a matter of time and situation. Later on, you might be teaching them. Just as I want to be taught by you. Because I know I can learn from anyone who is honest about what they're doing in this field of social entrepreneurship. I'm just trying to spend time to fill up the room. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. I think it's really, I will take it as a part of process of learning as I'm going towards it.
So you want to answer the question?
Opo.
Never mind.
Thank you so much po.
I've said enough. Okay. I'm going to elect you as a counselor.
Yeah.
Ato, I mean, I think I know the political party board.
Yeah, good question. Go ahead.
For the follow-up question,
Sorry, the other thing.
They would be my.
can you please discuss or differentiate the social enterprise versus non-profit organization?
Maybe I'll have a go. So, I guess the way first of all, I don't think there's a fixed definition here. This is actually open to discussion. You may have a different interpretation of social enterprise, and that's one of the challenges of social enterprise. Is many people will now come on and say, "I have a social enterprise," and then the question that Mr. Yap asked earlier is a relevant one: is what really makes you a social enterprise, right? So, if you look at I guess, standard business as we know it. What is king in enterprise or business as we know it? What's the most important thing if you run a business?
To make money.
Very good. All right, to make money, right? And charity is kind of the opposite end of the spectrum, right? It's basically giving money away. So the consequence, if business is all just about making money, then one of the possible consequences or side effects of that, of course, is greed. Because if all you care about is making money, you don't care about the people you work with, you don't care about the effects on the environment, etc., etc. So that's one extreme. And that's basically capitalism or the business world as we know it in its hardest form today. Okay, the alternative is just giving money away, which of course you can only give a little bit of money away because you want to look after yourself or you want to have a successful career and stuff like that. So you'll give money away once a year at Christmas, or you'll have a little government, a CSR program as part of your business. You'll give away a tiny amount of the profit, but of course nothing that would in any way affect or threaten the business or the sustainability of your business model. Okay, so that, whereas the consequence of business being all about money is greed, the consequence of just pursuing charity alone is that it's not sustainable. Because eventually, even Goud Kalinga would experience this. Goud Kalinga built 2,500, 3,000 homes, whatever. Eventually, if you keep going back to people cap in hand and say, please give more money, we need to build more villages, sooner or later people are probably going to get a bit bored of it. They're going to say, oh yeah, I did that last year, I want to do something else. Okay? Or from a personal perspective, a great example is, Human Nature? The founder of Human Nature, Dylan Wilk, he went from setting up one of the most successful businesses in the UK, startup businesses, earning loads and loads of money but being really, really greedy. He didn't like himself, he quit that, and he went to become a philanthropist, and he started giving all of his money away. So he sold his business on the London Stock Exchange, and he basically went into the world of charity, and he started funding homes for Goud Kalinga, just basically giving his money away. And then there was a problem, because that is ultimately not sustainable either. He had a family on the way, and he thought, how am I going to sustain my family? How am I going to build a future which is going to be good enough for them if all I'm doing is giving money away and I'm not earning any money? So, if you have those two extremes, I guess social enterprise is somewhere in the middle. You need to have a business which makes enough money to grow, and through making enough money through making a decent amount of money, you're able to actually expand your business model. But then the question is, because you're in the middle there, you're saying, okay, well, what are we going to do with the profit we make as a social enterprise? What are we going to do in terms of our relationship with our employees? How are we hiring people? What conditions are we giving them? Who are our partners? Who do we source from? Do we pay the absolute minimum possible? Or do we look to source our, whatever it is, vegetables in a more ethical or more sustainable way? So it's really finding that middle ground between just seeking profit or just looking at social impact and saying, how can we build business models which make a profit but then reinvest that profit in whatever social or environmental mission you have as an enterprise. So without being able to go into exact specifics as to what makes a social enterprise or not, because I think there are different models out there, that is how I understand it. It's what one of the t-shirts that Human Nature makes, and Human Nature is really a reference for me in terms of social enterprises. Less for self, more for others, enough for all. So I think that is the business model that we want to, or they are the values by which social business should try to abide. That's GK, is it? Not Human Nature. Okay, wait a minute, it's on Human Nature t-shirts. Yeah. Did any? Yeah.
Let me try to answer that. But first, we should tell Dylan to get money from his father-in-law. Dylan has been one of the people who shared with us a long time.
Oh.
Yeah, because he told him, explain to us why you're importing. Anyway, that's another story. If you go to our website, you will find that there are two manuscripts there. One is called Defining Social Enterprise. The other one is called Defining Social Business. It's free. What did we do there? When I started this, I realized that question is important. So we conducted 3 roundtables over 2.5 years. Name the group. They were there. Ashoka, British Council, the only social enterprise university in Europe. GK was there. BPI Foundation, Petrocam Foundation. Anybody who's offering a course like AIM or Ateneo who claims it's a social entrepreneurship course. So we had more than 50 organizations over 3 major roundtables. So even Melbourne University was there. Anybody in Asia who ever thought about social entrepreneurship was invited by us. And it was a long series of discussion, papers were exchanged, summaries were made, and at the end, they agreed with our position. The null hypothesis we presented, which they agreed with, was like this. A social enterprise is a business whose social objective is part of their cost of doing business. If the social objective cannot be attained, and still the company or business makes money, then you are not a social enterprise. You cannot think of your social objective as something to be done when it's convenient or you have money. It must be part of your cost of doing business. And you must be so efficient that your cost of sales at the end is competitive. It's at a price at par or only slightly higher than your competitors. Rather than now, anybody who claims they're into CSR or social enterprise, their prices are too high. And we think that's wrong. So you can look at it. We probably have read most books about it. Not so much, I think we cited 200 books and journals in that 4 page right now. Please look at it. We did not follow APA, because APA is not good because we needed footnotes. APA is the, you know what that is, right? No. That is how they require in the Philippines masteral and doctoral dissertation to be written. That's the style, APA. Yeah. So we did a modified APA with footnote. The second one, defining social business, is a catch-all. Social business is any business that does good as a social objective, but it's an after-profit activity. So if it's cost of doing business, included, it's part of doing business, cost of doing business, it's a social enterprise. If it's anything after that, it's a social business. It's good. But the sustainability question is different. And we know that that's true. Most people we have met, when they don't make money, when they have personal problems, when something happens, they change the way they approach their social objective. And we tell people, that's fine, but don't call yourself a social entrepreneur. Call yourself a social business person. And it has been accepted by most people. DCYF, Melbourne is the #1 university in Australia. We are presenting our findings as August in case you're interested. We did a long research across Asia about this. We have Nottingham University, you know them, right? The #1 CSR training. They did the research on our talks. Okay. The one in charge is the head of the MBA program, Dr. Rebecca. So we have those backup researchers to support what I'm saying. I don't know if you have not had a chance, please look at them. There are 3 books. Okay. So to us, there is social enterprise, there is social business. Both good, both helping people, but very different. And for the country, we do not look at this as something in the middle, as you were saying. To me, the concept of economics is simple. Here is economic development. A portion should be social business. A portion should be social entrepreneurship. But let's accept 90% will be just business. What we want is the social businessmen and social entrepreneurs to, however, break the consciences of the entrepreneurs so that every now and then they might do something beyond what they do in regular business. And that would, at least at DCYF, we feel that will be successful.
I'm just curious in the business and the enterprise. Why those particular terms in themselves? Why does social business Why have you chosen social business as a term to represent one type of
It's my turn.
social
So it's
enterprise?
just my turn. There is no reason. I looked at social objectives being assisted or addressed by businessmen that were not social entrepreneur, and the broadest name I could think of was social business. So far, the guys doing CSR-based businesses, the guys doing transformative businesses, etc., the guys in Europe who use transformative more than most people, we are in dialogue with them. We've been talking to Cambridge for 4 years, right? We have researchers with them. We have submitted, we were requested to bring articles in most peer-reviewed journals in the US and Europe. And this is what we told them now. You can change the name, but there's still two kinds of social activities that are businesses. One is, it's part of your cost of doing business. You do it no matter how much it hurts. And you still have to make money. You don't make money, please close your business because you have rising expectations. If you don't close, those rising expectations will lead to more problems. And that's the most difficult. It's still business. Both of them are still businesses. So don't fool around with it. If you can't make it a success, close it, find another business. Anyway, the statistics, I don't know in UK, but in America, 1 out of 31 businesses that you try probably will succeed. If you're lucky, 1 in 10 will work. So failure is part of business. Why are social businesses, social enterprises any different? Maybe your printing t-shirt business will become a packaging business. Or maybe you'll become an inspirational speaker. We don't know. An events manager. It doesn't matter. What's important is all of us here want to help people other than our immediate families and friends. And I think that's what binds everyone who comes here, even the students. Anyway, please read them, critique them. They're only to their 5th revision, so I know that we can still improve them. And you can blame me because I formulated everything there, but I asked Noreen Bautista, one of our, Noreen, right? So I asked her to write it. I changed 80%, but I said, just put your name there. Because when I'm gone, they should know you. So actually, you can blame me because I'm the one who insisted on the revisions. DCYFoundation.org. We're using a free software, by the way, Isu one. It's very easy. You know Isu, right? Isu, that's free software on the internet. That's all we use.
Alright, so thank you. That was good question. Very good discussions. I hope there's a lot of learning to be had from that kind of exchange. No? So, guys, so how about the students? Any question that you guys had scribbled down there on your pieces of paper? Yeah. There you go.
To Miss Marie, I'm just curious po kasi as you said earlier, ma'am, you just invest your whole time in establishing the Calipo. The question is, how can a business start without investing cash, property, and equipment?
Good question. Okay, so I started this in the environment of Gawad Kalinga Enchanted Farm. So, not cash, but I traded my skills and time to help build this. So, because I was part of GK Enchanted Farm and the enterprise is set up to be partially owned by GK Enchanted Farm. So it's a lot of like trading, for example. So because of my time that they don't pay me cash for, they gave me access to a physical space, a hut, where now I can talk to people and say, this is now Calvin Fine wasn't even Calvin before. I took over an enterprise called Gourmet Queso. So this is where Gourmet Queso is under the management, right? But because I was also working there, I had access to the network, right? So it's just using all possible resources that don't necessarily have to mean money, okay? Because I was in that place, I had a chance to really write my vision, and I already wanted to set up for scale. I didn't want, because I have no capital, I didn't have money to have my own processing facility, right? So I looked at white labeling. You know what white labeling is? right? So there's sabi ko, but I don't want to so I had a vision already. When I'm going to do this thing, I want to be big and I want to be different. Because when you have something big and different, other people get inspired, right? I'm not just selling milk. I'm not just selling queso puti. How do you get other people to support you in this big, bold undertaking? Sabi ko, I don't want to do this. I want to do something different. I want to do aged cheese. Okay? I want to do yogurts. I want to produce the local version of Yakult. Those are the things I want to do. Okay? So, malaki siya. Because sabi ko, my faith is big enough, right? So let's do this. Let's go for something big. And so we did first white labeling. So there's a producer who does aged Carabao cheese. So it's really good. And because of that, I was able to tell the story. People got excited. And I also looked at public-private partnerships because Gawad Kiling Enchanted Farm is a partner. Right? So they're able to provide us the network, the building, and I also work with the Philippine Carabao Industry Center, Philippine Carabao Center. It's a government agency. I wrote them, I said, sir, I wrote the executive director, this is my vision. I'm a social enterprise from Gawad Kiling Enchanted Farm. I really want to help the farmers. I believe the dairy industry, building the dairy industry together with an organization like yours would really, would really create an impact and help the farmers. So let's figure out how we can work together so where we can pick up where you leave off. They work directly with farmers, I can focus on the market. Right? They produce the milk, I can create high-value products out of it. So you just look at who you can have as partners first, right? And because your dreams, I get a chance to talk about this proof of concept. People taste it, people, their imaginations get sparked. Okay, this is what I want to do, da-da-da. And then I approached a couple of people who I thought could at least lend credibility to what I was doing. Those two people are not with Enterprise anymore, but at that moment they helped. Oh, this person is actually part of the Enterprise. It's him. I know him. Sige, let's go have a meeting. And then, because at the farm we have startup business camps, so people actually volunteered their time. For example, this logo, although I directed them, this is what I want. Right, this was created by the husband of one of my volunteers. Okay, but she got so excited, I want to be part of this, because I said, let's go build the dairy industry together. It's not my enterprise, it's ours. So I give them a part of it. Sali kayo dito. So when people ask me, I want to help you, how can I help you? I said, don't help me. Build this dream with me. So, put your taya and do whatever you need to do that makes you feel good about contributing. So honestly, because of that, we're able to maybe generate 2 million pesos worth of time and talent. And we have a little bit, I had enough to keep myself, to serve, to maintain my very simple lifestyle. Because I live in the farm, I live in Agat, Bulacan. But I had 2 investors. But of course, we did the rigor business, there's sales coming in, very little overhead. So we had about, just to give an example, 2 people gave 150,000 in tranches, according to me. Most of that was spent on marketing materials and initial packaging, right? So it also allowed us to then sell the products, but really come up with that idea of excellence already from the beginning. So that, in maybe 5 months, without really active marketing, we're able to make sales of, 400,000 or 500,000, just word of mouth, doing this kind of thing, because people get excited about it. Right? So get something big, be really bold, and get them to be part of that thing, because you don't need cash in the beginning. An idea, your passion, your belief in this whole thing gets people excited. They want to join you, and don't say, I don't need it. You can actually, even just the network, the introductions, those are resources. Does that help? Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Follow-up question sino po yung mga owners or sino yung owner yung Calipo?
Okay, so it actually continues to evolve. I want to mention is to Sir Tony, we had very good intentions of incorporating, and people drop off and people this and it's like, but I want to make sure that the group is very centered and very aligned with what we want to do, we want to create. Because I don't want just money. I want people who can really uphold the values and the vision of what we're creating. So some people dropped off. So at the moment, it's me, and one is she's a Balikbayan, but she currently at the moment lives in London. She's Filipina. One is a professor at AIM. So all of us have gone to the gates of Gawad Kalinga Enchanted Farm. And a couple of people dropped out. As we continue to evolve, and 2 people said, I want to be part of this. This is what I want to do. I want to be your CEO. Sige, let's go lang. And we do it in small because I really want to open it up to a lot of people who want to build this dream together. So one of the things as a social entrepreneur, and I would suggest is, wag mo lang angkinin, because you really need a team to make it big, to make it successful. You're just you're the driver maybe, but you need a conductor, you need a mechanic, right? You need all the other people in your team to make it. So it continues, but right now we are slated to incorporate in June because I'm seeing now the people who are committed to making this, to create the value. But the farm is 30% owner at the moment.
Turn it on again.
Hi, Ms. Marie. My question is, in basic accounting, there's a principle.
Don't ask about accounting. Okay. Sige.
There's a principle that money, personal money, should be separated from the enterprise money.
Yes.
And you've mentioned that you've started your business without having cash.
Yes.
So my question is, are you financially stable before putting up your social enterprise?
I was personally financially stable.
So follow up to your answer is that, don't you think that we millennials or as a graduating students should be financially stable before entering or having our own startup?
Well, first of all, what do you mean by financially stable?
Financially stable, like we have enough money, even if the social enterprise would fail, there would be our backup plan.
Okay, good. But when you become a social entrepreneur, you have to be willing to change your lifestyle. Let's just start with that. Okay. So you have to be financially stable, so you don't be a burden to your enterprise, and you don't come from a place of need. Well, oh my gosh, this has to succeed because I have to feed myself. You can't do that. You have to be, but at the same time, you can also manage your lifestyle. So if you want to put in a little bit just to float it, it's okay in the beginning because it's all of you. Like what Sir Tony said, you put in all your blood, sweat, and tears into your baby, right? Because this is you na. Does that make sense? But make sure you don't come from a place, so you're only financially stable to support yourself, so you don't become a burden to this enterprise that you're. Imagine yourself giving birth to this thing. Right? You want to be healthy, you want to eat the proper foods, you want to be able to maintain your lifestyle. So when you give birth to this baby, you don't take away from what the baby needs. Does that make sense? So financially stable enough, but so you just don't become a burden and be willing to change your lifestyle, right? So, yeah. Because you don't ever want to come from a place of need because you end up doing desperate things that's not really coming from a place of rightness.
I don't want to keep it but just to share, I have a situation for you. Do you have a boyfriend? Okay, wala na. Okay. Maganda yan. No. But at the time that you had a boyfriend, did you not want your boyfriend to be totally committed to you? Parang ganun ang social entrepreneurship. Pag hindi ka totally committed, huwag kang magalit kung ang resulta hindi as good as you expect. Now, iba-iba tayong tao. So, hindi kailangan na yung narinig mo sa akin o sa kanila, yun ang gagawin mo. Pwedeng sa'yo, kamukha niya, part-time, intern. But ako, ang experience ko sa mga tao nakita ko in all these years, those that commit who are willing to risk everything, they are the most successful when they succeed. Sabi nga nila, big failures are better than no failures. So I'll tell you one person who I used to play badminton with. His name is called Martin Agustin. You know him? Patayo ng sumo sam, etc. I used to play with him. He always talked about he wants to go to restaurants and all that. Finally, out of frustration listening to him all this time, I asked him, how old are you ba? Sige ako, you're that age. If you lose everything tomorrow, mahina ang career mo, anong gagawin mo? I'll work harder on my career and be a better one. Baka lumabas ako sa TV, whatever. Oh, gugutumin ka ba kung hindi mag-succeed yun, no? Pwede kong takuin ng magulang ko o barkada ko, whatever. O sige, sir, mag-partner tayo. Sabi ko, no, that's called being an opportunist. So, tuturuan kita, pero huwag mo akong bibigyan ng share ni piso. Diba? And ang aking advice to you will take all of 10 minutes. Ano yun? Kung gusto mong gawin, gawin mo. Kung may problema ka, punta mo. If you're successful, don't talk to me anymore. Laro na lang tayo ng badminton. Okay? And that is a true story of what happened. And I can, because I used to play with all these artistas here. All of them are problematical. But they know one of my degrees is the Masters in Guidance and Counseling. And I do have a counseling clinic here at Medical Plaza Ortigas for a long time up to now. And I tell people, ang maganda sa counselor, I know the private secrets of people and I can really, without mentioning them, really share with you. And the successful persons I met, either in pure business, which is 99% of the people I know, since pure inchik ang ginagawa ko, or the 1% who are social entrepreneurs, palaging sino ba totoo na tumit at anything else. But I want to say something about the financing. Baka hindi, are you familiar with P3? Excuse me, BMU, are you familiar with P3? Kailan alam niya, kasi one of the things na ginagawa ni President Duterte is naglabas siya ng 2 billion piso na pwede mong makuha na walang kapital. Okay, so that's one program. If you're interested, when we're finished, ask me. I'll tell you how your school can tie up and have money available for your students. Okay, number 2. Have you heard of a group called MCPI? Hindi siguro. Dapat alam niyo yan if you're in the business school. You know why? MCPI is the group of all accredited conduits for money without any collateral. Okay ba? Maganda ba yun? Now, pang small time ba? You can borrow 2 to 5 million. Oops. Suddenly, nakakatakot, pwede palang gano'n. Diba? So you talk of rounds of lending, rounds of investment. Third, you know that DOST gives non-collateral and non-interest loans. As much as 10 to 20 million. Oops. So what is the message? Do your homework. Diba? Matanda na ako, I've learned all of this in the last 11 months only. Because every so many months, I want to check what's new. So I talked to the head of the World Bank in the Philippines, head of the IFC. What did I do? I hosted a roundtable summit of all microfinanciers. Pero dumating, Land Bank, World Bank, BBP, etc. Kasi they wanted to be part of it. Do you know there's a program to replace 5-6? Oh, but we have all the details because my small consulting arm was asked to study that. Interesting, ano? If you're a woman, number 5, you know there are all sorts of things for you so long as you're 18 and above. How do I know? My consulting arm was asked to study how do we help make available resources to women entrepreneurs. Okay ba? Yeah, I don't want to bore you kasi I know all the details. Ask me, and especially where we did the study. Suddenly, even Kalabu can borrow there. Interesting, huh? Yeah. Are you familiar with Mr. Fausto from
Yes.
Talavera? Nakita mo na ginagawa niya doon? Kasi mozzarella ang ginagawa niya, di ba? So, interesting. Kaibigan ko yun. Si Mr. Fausto. And I'm always there in CLSU area.
Yes, yeah.
So I know the Carabao Center, etc. Yeah, I buy there.
Okay.
Do you know they can deliver to your house?
Yeah, no, we're really very good partners.
See, Fausto will give you a refrigerator in FEU or in DMUF and will deliver fresh Carabos milk. Did you know that? Libre yung refrigerator. At ang liit ng minimum order. Why do I know? Because Carabos milk is wonderful milk. I've been drinking it since I was a small boy, so I'm lucky at my age I can still drink milk. Diba? No, it's a problem for people my age. So, that's just a small what do you think did? Interesting ba yan sa estudyante mo? So, to bring it all together, DCYF has a program called Entreps Build Camps. You ask for an Entreps Build Camp, we do the Shark Tank approach. You're familiar with that?
Yes.
Mabilis lang, pero Shark Tank, ano? And at the end, we can give you, I have 40 angel investors within DCYF. So that's the detail I can share with you. And our bias is anybody below 40. Last month, yung question mo kanina about evolution of your corporate setup. Are you familiar with Kalakalan 20? You should. This was created by Orbos during the time of COVID. It still exists. If you have less than 20 employees, do you know you can be tax-free?
That's the same as the plan people, the barangay micro business.
That is where it is now. But Kalakalan 20 was never removed, even if they notified it.
So it's different from banking.
It's different kasi totally not accessible. No registration requirement. Si Senator Bam kasi consulted with me and I told him, Bam, nakalimutan mo, meron tayong ganito. Pag-aralan mo mabuti. Orbos yan, law by Orbos. See, maraming ganyan. That's why this kind of open discussion is better than a lecture. See, even the ones talking will probably pick up a few things. The challenge to a student or people in schools is to do homework before you go to the conference. Diba? So my preparation for this is nag-interview ako ng mga tao. Kasi I want to be up to date. Baka may development na hindi ko lang. Like yung sinasabi mo about barangay. That is now the confusion. They should have totally abolished the other law. But there's a new law that they came up with, although we objected to it being revised. That will look at this in a different way. Kasi Bam has 9 laws that he wants to create. I don't know if you're familiar with that. And the biggest one on social entrepreneurship. We are the major objecting party. Because they tied it into poverty alleviation, which is another discussion. But that's, so I've seen the draft. There are 2 versions. We don't know which one will, I don't think they'll make it to this Congress or the time. Kasi naka-first reading na sila. We objected to that version because the version says you're not a social entrepreneur if you don't commit all your resources and profits to poverty alleviation. Sabi, pangatlong definition nata yan. Hindi social entrepreneur, hindi social business, it's social something for poverty alleviation. I don't think there are too many who will do that. Kasi that means you're not making money for yourself. That's crazy. Social enterprise, social business, make money for yourself first. Be comfortable, whatever level that is. Don't help people and then go hungry. That's crazy. I met people who talk like that and I said, don't talk to me, you might infect me with your bad virus. Sorry, Kasi I'm easily influenced. So, but kidding aside, I hope that information is useful for you.
So just to summarize what we've learned so far now. So you can actually work with people so that you get their talent for free. There are multiple government agencies, NGOs that you can approach also so that you can have access to.
All the conduits are private.
Private, sir.
Private microfinance institutions. They're not banks, they're microfinance institutions. Although CARD owns 2 banks. I don't know if you know that. CARD is the single biggest microfinance ecosystem in Asia. Part of their ecosystem is they own 2 banks. But other than them, the rest are what they call MFI, microfinance institutions, governed by 2 separate laws. You must read the law because the law will make you happy. When you read it, you say, anybody in a chattel farm pala has money, anybody in a school pala has money, and it's not small time. Although they will force you to start small time. Because to start big time is dangerous. Yes. But they'll allow you if you can justify it. It's all in the presentation, not only of the feasibility, but yourself. Ano ba committed mo? Yun ang tanong nila. How committed are you? So, Ma'am FPU, ako muna, tatanong sa iyo, pag umuha ka doon, how committed are you? Pag na-convince mong committed ka, either no interest or no interest and no collateral or no collateral lang. Doon ka na sa no interest na no collateral. Yung mga feasibility studies I've seen are less than 5 pages. Well thought out. 5 pages. They're not what you think. And you know, that's a seminar we can do for you. How to do those 5 pages. Very simple, but it requires good accounting. By the way, yung accounting mo. Okay. Sorry, dami kong I'm paying attention to your discussion. As a fake Chinese. I can tell you that cash flow is more important to me than net profit. So I don't worry about the difference between my personal and my business, so long as I pay proper taxes and I pay the minimum wage and share what I need to share with those under me in the business. Sa school, iba. School kasi maraming laws, tuition fee law, etc. Pero sa business. So when you start, make sure mayroong profit share from the beginning. Don't start when you're making money. I think that's the wrong concept. Concept is from the beginning, even if you're only sharing 100 pesos. Get profit share from the beginning, so you get used to it. It becomes part of your DNA. And those who try to introduce it later in my limited experience, there's profit. Kasi hindi sila sanay. Parang sabi nila, okay lang nung 5,000, ngayong 5 million ang binibigay ko. Ang laki na. Forgetting that baka meron siya 10 million. Ganun lang. So mama, you know I'm an accountant. I spent my entire career in a small company called CC Gores and Tulay. Okay. So I will be a man. I became managing head of 3 countries. I was 26 years old at the time. So I can tell you that my most successful consultancy is telling the cash flow. Coming from a public accounting practice. That's why inalis ako sa audit na sa consulting. Kasi sabi nila, masyado ka practical. It's fine.
Alright. And just to add, if you need access to machines, DOST also has that. Like if you want to code something, there are many areas you can look at. But that we can discuss details later. Now, I believe that. But you have a question?
Now, as social entrepreneurs, I'm just curious, how much lives have you changed? Your business has changed in terms of poverty alleviation. Now, what I would want to know is the more specific ones, like for example, the children are now going to school, they can also things like that. So, about poverty alleviation. And my other question is, I'm curious of your statement, Ma'am Marie, when you said that God didn't make mistake in creating a Filipino. Would you like to expound on that? Thank you.
Okay, so I guess in terms of social impact of MAD travel, we operate in about 6 different regions at the moment of the Philippines where we run tours. I guess the biggest direct social impact that we can profess to have had so far, we're still very much in the early stages, right? We've been running tours for about 2 years. I'll give one example in Bohol, where we work with one of the GK communities, which was built for the survivors of the earthquake back in 2014. It's in Manibohog, in the center of the country. So we do every month we do a immersion program. We have groups of between 10 and 15 foreigners who do an overnight immersion in this community. But I guess beyond the direct influence in this community which we've been able to have in terms of revenue, so the community, so our guests eat in the community, they do a homestay, they stay overnight in the community, and of course we pay the community for that opportunity. So there's income coming into the community. I guess beyond that, we've also partnered with one of our travel partners from Canada, and they have invested in better infrastructure in the community. So there's toilets now in how many homes, Raf, in Bohok?
18.
18, yeah. So 18 homes have been upgraded. Still in a fairly modest way, but they have toilets, mosquito nets. Even the shower area, I believe, has been improved in various different homes. And we're also building now a community centre within, like a simple multi-purpose within that community, which again is, I guess, of benefit to our guests and of benefit to the community itself, because the community is the ones that can benefit sort of full time from that improvement in infrastructure. So that's, I believe, an interesting project. We've also identified people within the community to become future tour guides. At the moment, we're still at the stage where we send somebody from Mad Travel to Bohok to help to run that tour, because I think the local community is not quite ready yet to take charge of a group of 14 foreigners. But we've already identified some people within that community who we are training, and we have a long-term plan for them to be the local sort of Mad Travel tour guides. So that's, I guess, just one example. We also developed homestay programs in different communities here in Metro Manila. So we have one in Caloocan City where we've sent, I have to check the latest numbers. How many guests?
300.
So we've sent 300 guests to a community in Caloocan, just up past sort of Commonwealth Avenue on the way to the Enchanted Farm, where we do an immersion program. They get to spend time with one of the enterprise projects within that community, and also homestay in the community. We're training the community so that they will become more adept at actually meeting guests and becoming the future tour guides themselves. As I said, we're still not quite there yet. We still need to come in and oversee the groups, but eventually we want the local community to really take full ownership of that, or that experience. And just to give you an idea, whenever we have a group coming in, we pay, I think it's 150 pesos per meal. So we've had 300 guests coming in, 150 pesos per meal. I believe it's about 300 or 250 pesos overnight stay. So a lot of our guests that are coming in are contributing and bringing some economic development to that community. And then we have the project, or the partnership we have with the local government in San Felipe Zambales and another NGO, the Hineleban Foundation, where we are working with the AITA. This is actually not related to GK, but we're trying to bring some of the principles that we've learned in GK to the AITA, the Yangel tribe, part of the AITAs in San Felipe Zambales, and we have a major. We're basically using tourism as a means to enable people from Manila to discover and to learn more about Aita culture, and also to help really propel forward a reforestation program in that area. So our dream is to build a 3,000 hectare rainforest in the area surrounding this tribe, an area which was completely decimated or destroyed after Mount Pinatubo erupted 25 years ago, and it hasn't really grown back ever since then. So we have a major sort of reforestation program there, which we're working really with the local community. The local community are the leaders in this program in many ways, and we've been able to plant through the tourists arriving. We've been able to plant 12,000 bamboo seedlings over the past sort of 6 months or so. And some of them are growing quite high now. So yeah, so we're trying to use tourism as a means to really regenerate that local area, and reforestation, and really using tourism as a means to support the local sustainability, so of that community, so that we're when there's various programs, there's a need for seed programs, so we're encouraging the community itself to be able to plant, or we're enabling the community to be able to plant mango trees and various fruit-producing trees, so that they can become more sustainable and less reliant on outside, less reliant on having to buy produce from outside, which they have very little means to do. Did you want to add anything?
I just want to add this, Tom and I are business partners in Mad Travel. On the financial side, what we make sure is that we pay, we train the guys, but we also pay them a premium. So everyone's paid either at or above minimum wage for the work that we do. Granted, it's not every day yet because tours aren't every day. So our challenge is to make it more regular so the income stream is more regular. But just as an example, statistically, most of the communities we work with are on the 4-piece program. So they're earning 1,500 to 2,000 per month. So if we can pay them, say 500 a day, 4 times a month, we have doubled their income. I'm not saying it's great. I feel like it's not. We feel like it's not enough, but the fact that you can double income for a small family is a big thing, and we hope to push it forward also. So it's simple things like that, sir. Food preparation, tour guiding, and then the latest one is we're also, because when you have tourists coming in, you generally want to buy something from where you came from, correct? So we've encouraged a lot of the communities to create their own thing. In the community Tom mentioned in Bohol, we've trained them how to make their own cocoa jam and peanut butter. They can sell it, profits theirs. In the Aitas, we're encouraging them to, why don't you start your bow and arrow making again? No one used to buy it before, but today, guests will buy it for 500 pesos per set, which is a big thing for a family that only earns 2,000 a month. We've encouraged them to get more honey from the forest so you can sell to the people. It's also providing them access to market. And so I think what we see here is there's a very strong power that comes with being present in that community. So something that hope you guys can think about also.
So just quickly to the poverty alleviation. So we just launched just 6 months ago on November 11th. So we haven't been able to measure that because we're still finalizing our own system. But since then, we were actually able to hire short-term workers within the GK community. So give them quite a lot of double actually their the minimum wage because it was a lot of intense work to help us do the lunch, to help us do key events. But what the main focus of the enterprise at the moment is really addressing the poverty of the mind. So the poverty of the pocket in terms of addressing the material needs will come after or with it. Kasi I'm really focused on building a brand that inspires people. So the farmers will start to feel proud that it's their own. Right? So it's really about developing our own sense of excellence, our own self-regard, our own dignity, right? And demanding excellence from ourselves and showing to the rest of the world, starting with the Filipinos, that we are capable of excellence. So my initial groundwork is really addressing the poverty of mind through education
right? Education about the benefits of Carabao milk, inspiring people to really recognize that Filipinos are worth something, not just something, but quite a lot. So I'm actually moving this product out of the commodity market and really making it like the Kobe beef of dairy, right? So that's the whole push for me. So the alleviation in terms of material will follow after, once we start something that people can aspire and be a part of. It's something bigger. So the second one, that quotation was actually written by Tito Tony, and so it wasn't mine, but it resonated with me, as God did not make a mistake in creating the Filipino, because I have a chance to live anywhere in the world, right? So I've lived in the US, Canada, Amsterdam, and Peru, and even when I would go to these places, oh, I can live here, I can live up in the mountains, you know, I could see myself just being a citizen of the world. Right? But when I came back here and met Tito Tony, and I would have to say that he was the one person that made me see hope in the Philippines. And the first time I saw the possibility of me coming back and really joining the movement of ending poverty in our country. I never saw that before. I never considered it before. But when I met him, I heard his words and saw right before my eyes and met the people whose lives he touched and whom he uplifted. I was sold, and I said, ito pala yung saysay ng buhay ko. Because the resonance was very different, right? I fell in love with my country again. I learned to see the Filipinos with fresh eyes. That we are amazing. We are, you know, while a lot of our fellow brothers and sisters live in poverty, they're not angry. There's no anger. There's no fear. Yeah, there's timidity, maybe even shame, but matapang tayo at the core. And we're very generous. The poorest of the poor will have no problem sharing what little they have to others. And that's built into our system, right? And when you go live in the States, they're selfish, they're angry, they're afraid. We're not like that. So I was able to see that and to see that aspect of me that I'm also like that. And because now I commute, right? So when I go to Makati, I joke about my weekend is farm to Forbes. They're farm to table, a farm to Forbes Park. So farm to fork, right? I get to really navigate the very different classes. And when I go and I ride the jeep or ride the bus, naturally, oh, my buntes, oh, my bata, and you just see them help. You don't even think about it, right? So I feel so proud to be among us like that. And when I see our natural resources, I see our beaches, and parang wow, this is mine. This is part of me. So that's why to just have that, you know, as a foreigner, I'm sure it's a bit different. Just like when I was a foreigner in all those other countries that I might have considered home. Iba talaga ang Filipino. Even the language that we speak, right? Yung the terms ng bayanihan na wala sa ibang ano. Even what I like is bayani, right? Bayan, bayani, bayanihan. Those three big words encompassed in that whole thing. No, it doesn't exist in other languages. So when we really dig deep into what it means to be Filipino and to discover those things, it really gives me so much pride. And I want to be able to share that with the world. And because we are capable of access. When you look at natural resources, our coffee, our rice grains, our milk, our chocolates, we are really living in paradise. That's your question.
Do we have other questions, guys? Other questions? Well, we still have a few more minutes, about 15 minutes before we end. I guess one of the practical things that we wanted to ask us, I guess in terms of making money, maybe you can share like Tom and Ray, you can share the setup of like how it works so that the students have a better idea of the stability side. Because I think that for the students, correct me if I'm wrong, that might be the one question that your parents will ask you, how are you going to feed yourself after?
Okay, so I thought Marie's question was quite good earlier, or quite interesting earlier when she said, okay, so what was it you said? Like, what is enough? Okay, first of all, what do you really need to be sustainable? So of course, as a social entrepreneur, you have to look at that questions and ask yourself seriously, what do you really need to be happy? So that's what I had to do when I became a social entrepreneur. So when I arrived here, I was living in the 34th floor in San Salvador Village. After about 6 months of being a social entrepreneur, I was down on the 25th floor. Then I was down on the 8th floor. Then I was down on the 2nd floor. And it got to a point where I was worried I might end up like under a bridge by EDSA. And if that were to be my story, then that wouldn't be a very inspiring story or journey of a social entrepreneur, right? And I don't think you would particularly want to be one. Fortunately, I stopped at the 2nd floor, and I'm still on the 2nd floor today. And I live in I guess, it's slightly different. I'm not quite, my rent is a fraction of what it used to be. It's a far more simple building. But I've realised personally that although I have less material comforts than I used to have, I'm infinitely happier and more fulfilled and more passionate about what I'm doing. So that's a trade-off that I was willing to make. But of course, to avoid me ending up under a bridge on EDSA, I needed to have a business idea which would actually work. And I think there are a lot of people that will say, oh, I really want to do this, because of course, as a social entrepreneur, as you suggested, Mr. Yap, if you're a social entrepreneur, then the social purpose must be at the very foremost, at the foreground, if you like, of what you're doing. But it needs to make business sense. So, fortunately, I feel in our case, we've been able to come across an idea which really does put social impact. That the social impact is directly tied to the attraction of our business model. So we believe that some of the poorest parts of the Philippines are also the most beautiful. If you're to speak to a tourist from Europe, and if you're to say, oh, we've got this amazing mall, we've got the biggest mall in Asia, it's called Mall of Asia, it's super cool, we've got like, we've got McDonald's there, we've got ice cream, we've got this really massive like Top Shop or whatever. You say that to a tourist, they are not interested. The last thing we want to do really is hang around in an air-conditioned mall in Manila. Because the reason we've come to this country is we want to discover the beauty of this country. And of course, the beauty of this country is in parts of the country where there is the least economic development. So actually, we believe, and I can tell you from our experiences so far, that European tourists, tourists from certain markets, Singapore, Hong Kong, Australia, these guys, young people, we want to travel, we want to venture off the beaten track today. That's part of our, if we're going to come all the way to the Philippines, we don't just want to go to a mall. We want to see the beautiful, pristine beaches, and they are in really underdeveloped parts of the country. So I guess we've been fortunate so far in finding an opportunity to bring economic development or to bring opportunities to these areas which have been very underdeveloped so far. Because there's a need, there's a market need for it. People are looking for experiences which are more authentic. People are looking for experiences where they can learn, where they can discover the local culture, where they can meet people, where they can build relationships, where they can connect to local communities. There's a portion of the market that's interested in that. And so that is at the forefront of our own business model, is saying, okay, there are people, there's a demand for this. So I think for all of you, the first thing you have to look at is, yes, you may have what looks like a beautiful product, and I'm sure it is a beautiful product, but you have to ask yourself that question, are there people in the Philippines, or are there people willing to buy your product, or do you think you can connect to that market? Because if you can't, it will end up being a beautiful idea with potentially beautiful social impact, but it's never going to get off the ground. So we found tourism, there is a demand, we hope, for the kind of experiences we're creating. So I think that's a key question you have to ask yourselves. I don't know if you wanted to add anything on that, Mary.
I actually have a few things to add. Kanina, Sister Tony was talking about value and values, right? So value because the social enterprise, right, where he said the social cause has to be essentially funded by the cost of doing business, right? So for me, my pasok, I go with the brand. Imagine Coca-Cola is the biggest brand and all they're selling is brown sweet water, right? It's just it. But now you're willing to buy a lot of it because of the brand. Right? So this is my now take on it is how do you create value from things that are seemingly valueless or cheap to make. How do you create value? So while we make value-added products like from mangoes, you make mango jam, you make chocolate dipped mangoes, you can make all those things. But for me, because I'm focusing the dairy industry and Carabao milk is actually a very good raw material, I want to create even more value with an added value. Okay, so that's why kanina I said, let it be the champagne of dairy, the Kobe beef of dairy, the foie gras, because it really is that. First, you look at what you're starting with. But actually we have six essential questions to ask yourself if you want to become a social entrepreneur. I have 5 essential questions for your enterprise to how to create and recognize the value. So Tom had made given a couple of suggestions, but these are 5 that I would encourage you to really think about. Is 1, what's your story? How do you engage your stakeholders, whether they are your customers, your potential partners, your investors, or the person who's going to give you a loan at the USD? How do you engage them? What's your story? Okay. The second one is, how are you different from others out there? Right? There's a lot of tour companies, there's a lot of milk companies, there's a lot of coffee companies, but what is your unique selling proposition? Just as each of us is unique, you're able to now figure out what is so unique about your products. It doesn't even have to be a feature. It doesn't have to be the healthiest or it's the sweetest or it's whatever. It can be a positioning, right? You could talk about it is a detoxifying, it's a detoxifying drink, right? But maybe there's a lot of detoxifying drinks out there, but you are the first one who's going to make a claim. You're going to own it. So what is your unique selling proposition? Selling being the operative word. It's not a specific proposition as you own, but what are you going to share, talk about to people that's unique from other things that's being offered out there. Okay? The third one is, why would they buy your product? Why would they engage your service? Bakit ikaw? Which means you ask, what's in it for them? Question na, kunena, what's your story? Right? What's your unique selling proposition? So what's in it for them? This is all in your language. It's what you're going to communicate to them. Right? 4 is, what do you believe in? Diba kanina I said, the social enterprise is the highest expression of who you are. It's a very personal thing. So I certainly says, you have to be fully committed to this. Even in the beginning, not yet. You're still making timpla, trying to figure the transition. But once you decide to become one, you are committed to that. So what do you believe in? Because what does your product stand for? What does your service stand for? What does your social enterprise stand for? What does it mean in the bigger scheme of things? And finally, how will this brand or your social enterprise reflect on your customers? What impression will you give off to others? How will they be perceived when they engage your enterprise, your brand, your product, your service? What impression will you give off to others? So how will this reflect on your customers? Diba? Alongside what's in it for them, like how will it make them look? Right? Does So those are the top 5 essential questions I encourage you to ask when you're developing a social enterprise. So of course you're going to do all the business modeling to make sure it's feasible, but to even make sure, to even check if your idea is good, if it's going to fly, try this 5. Okay? Does that help you guys? Yeah, if you need clarification, I can speak also somewhere.
All right. Guys, it's this time check. It's 10:55. We have time enough for one more question. One more.
Somebody who hasn't asked the question?
Yeah.
Someone new? You know who you are?
Yes, we know who you are.
How about the guests in the third row?
Hawaiian College.
May Kawain College. Huh?
Yeah.
Sir? Any questions on?
Representing Region 3.
That's our favorite region from a tourism standpoint.
Maybe we can ask them questions. Why are you here?
That's a good question.
Third row.
Yeah.
Why are you here?
The third row, why are you here? Yes.
For the free food.
Siguro po we have the same advocacy kasi we wanted our students also. Kasi most of our students are working students. So we are planning to put up a business in the school wherein it will be, the manpower will come from our students. And they will be also, parang everything in the business will be coming from the students. But we are also looking at how to put up the capital naman. Kasi syempre, we are private school po kasi. So, hindi ko ganun kalaki din yung andan. Kaya we are very thankful din sa sharing sir na we will be looking at all these po yung mga nasa NGOs and sa government po na fundings.
Only, I'll introduce you.
Thank you, sir. So,
Sir.
Yes.
we feel na ito po yung social enterprise kasi we will be helping our students po. Especially yung mga nasa business administration students na.
Thank you.
What about the others?
Sir.
Yes, we are here also to know more about your advocacy.
Did we answer your question po?
Definitely, yes.
BFUF is a unique university kasi they're focused on health sciences,
Great.
medicine.
Nutrition.
They also are the only university in the Philippines with a massive stadium where the Palarong Pambansa was held.
Where's exactly located?
In San Carlos City, Pangasinan.
Okay.
Yeah. And two of our companions are here. Miss Aligwas Tugnaw there is the one in charge of our community extension program. And then Miss Lizelle Asena is our marketing
Mga partners in
manager.
natin yan.
Okay.
Kasama sa natin yan. grupo.
How about from FEU? Why you guys are here?
Sugar Brennan?
Kailangan kong
Yeah, spoken pa eh.
Spoken yet then.
Ikaw magiging game changer ka.
Honestly, student po ako and not related from business, but
That is a huge part of it.
yeah.
Big, big part of it.
So,
Yeah.
gusto ko ma-extend sana kasi yung knowledge ng startups kasi we're planning to have a startup sa FEU and yung organization namin, yung e-club, sobrang gusto namin, ayaw namin ma-isolate yung ideas namin sa loob lang ng school. So gusto namin magkaroon ng mga off-campus projects and community-based projects. So, ayun.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think that if you want to learn more about it, there are a couple of options presented in the journal. One is you can log on to bcylf.org so that you can read more about it. No? You can go to the other events. There's an event on Friday about for the teachers. There's an event on Friday or the awards night, so you can learn more about it. Or you can also engage directly with the speakers here, no, you can visit the Enchanted Farm, or if you're looking for something community-based, no, I'm sure Tom can point you in the right direction so you can understand more what happens on the field and on the ground. No? Because while this discussion is nice, I think the main challenge here is to see if this event is really successful for you guys is what you're going to do with the knowledge you learned after this event. No? And so I think that's researching and pushing. Sir?
Just to have two comments about what you said. I thought, by the way, you were really sad. You like. But anyway, I have two comments there, so the others should know. The first is the Entrepreneurs Club she's talking about was created because we have a caravan at FU. We have this program called Caravans. You can invite us, we go to your school, and then we try to help you with your projects, your setup, and so on. Up to the point of doing, like, I did the caravan myself for Cagayan State University. I was there for 4 days, reviewing every single thing they went through. In their particular case, Noreen went there, and it ended up becoming the Entrepreneurs Club of FEU. That Entrepreneurs Club is very active. This year they just had an activity. They had the year they had e-race, but they did not continue it. Now they're going to reorganize with our help. So we go and help create the mechanism in colleges and universities on how to get involved in this area called social enterprise. But it can be pure entrepreneurship only. So the E-Club is not a social enterprise club. That's an entrepreneurs club. With a separate group that does CSR caravans, concerts, you know that? With the concerts. We bring up Ramadan, we collect them and we run concerts, and all the proceeds go to the venue. We take care of it, but all the income goes to them. People like Dharma, they charge 50,000 pesos for a good concert. Just so long. So we have many artists like that. So that's one comment. That is an example of how this advocacy for community or youth social enterprise or pure entrepreneurship can happen in any school that's interested. We also do that, by the way, for NGOs and corporations. So a corporation can invite us. We have a category called cooperator. If you're a cooperator, then you are part of our program. For example, if you're assigned to Pricewaterhouse, that's a 3-year program. If you're assigned to Deloitte, that's a 5-year program, and so on. So even businesses can come to us and we do that because we have a group called CDS, Consulting and Business Services for Social Enterprises. We do all the work we do in the big firms. I think we charge for a full management audit, I think 2,000 or 5,000 pesos, which will cost you 3, 4, 500,000. And we use retired SDB partners, retired Pricewaterhouse partners to do the work. High-level people with MBAs from Harvard, but who have a heart for this. The other comment that I can give you is that our advocacy of social entrepreneurship has nothing to do with force. What we say is that whether you're a high school graduate, a housewife, or whatever, join us in trying to improve society. And let us go to people like those in GK and other places, and let's learn from them. Well, that's the whole idea. So, for example, in my school, I focus social entrepreneurship only on education graduates and education students. I tell them, when you go out there and you teach elementary, high school, or college, I want you to think of society. So we teach social entrepreneurship to education students, not to our business students. And then the business students learn it on their own. There's no event for them, but the education, they're forced to attend hundreds and hundreds, I think 2,000 hours of this thing. Because educators must be changed. We have to, like that's why yesterday we announced and launched our University Social Enterprise Council, but half the members are not universities. These are CNAG of Senator Villar, which focuses on farm schools. We have BPI Foundation, SEED, join us, and Enchanted Farm, and so on. But in their case, British school join us. And they will be working with us to teach their elementary students social entrepreneurship. One of our volunteers wrote the book on social entrepreneurship for the Don Bosco system. All the Don Bosco schools are using a book written by one of our guys for high school, junior and senior high school. So, don't think this is only for, I think business graduates like me are at a disadvantage because we actually think we know what we're doing. It's better if you start greenfield and then you embrace all these experiences you share and then ask questions. So those who do not ask at least 3 questions cannot go on. I did. So may problema yun. No, because nandito na kayo, di ba? Kung galing kayo, how many hours from ano?
We left
San
travel
Carlos?
at 3 a.m.
3 a.m. Diba? Yeah. So, you travel that long,
Yes.
sagarin mo na. Ask them, how old are you? Where do you live? Are you single? Oh, Tom, are you single?
Marital status?
Yes.
Well, yes.
But
But I'm taken.
And you know, hope springs eternal.
yeah.
All right. Anything else?
And our format is we close formally together. See who close, we give a closing remark. Then we can stay for another 30 minutes for just alobido. Is that what I'm doing? Alobido.
Sige. Guys, well, there's nothing else, no? I'd just like to summarize because there are a number of points that I think we should really take away from this one. No? One is about that you saw how it's a personal decision for each of them to get into social enterprise, and how also you also see the different stages or cycles where people are at. No? Anna started just 2 weeks ago. Tom is on his 3rd year, and Marie, you're on your 6 months. No? So it's different stages, right? And the journey of each of the entrepreneurs progresses differently, no? And it may change. No? I guess I can speak for myself and Tom when I say that what we're doing today was not exactly what we thought we'd be doing 2.5 years ago. And that might hold true also. I'm sure that holds true for Marie because it also changed over time. And then we also found out about the different resources that you guys can access, no? Just by doing your homework and researching, right? And I guess the last bit is about going out into the community or going on the ground so that you can really get your feet wet in terms of the experience. So now they're distributing. I'd like to ask Glenn if he can distribute the evaluation forms.
Yes, I have it already.
I have it already. Okay, if you could answer that, no? Because we'd like to get feedback to see how, if this was effective for you as a format, you learned something, etc. Be a real big help. No? Okay. And then for closing remarks, Sir Tony, if you could say anything.
This is your show. I'm a member of the Honesty Orchard.
Okay, in that case, guys, no, I'd like to thank you for.
give them their certificates.
And yeah.